We are continuing to follow the breaking news out of Michigan. A suspect has been killed after reports of an active shooter at a synagogue in West Bloomfield. This is about 25 miles northwest of Detroit. We do want to bring in live now Professor Javed Ali, who has worked at the FBI, Homeland Security, and the Defense Intelligence Agency. He is now an associate professor at the University of Michigan, teaching courses on counterterrorism, domestic terrorism, cybersecurity, and national security law and policy. Professor, first, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And of course, just this breaking news, something no one wants to see. And we just learned you grew up in West Bloomfield. I mean, I guess just your personal reaction to seeing this major breaking news.
So tough to see what looks like an attack in a location where I grew up. I grew up just a few miles away from where the synagogue is located, but I know exactly where it is, just knowing that area like the back of my hand. So it's tough to see, and we don't yet know the details on the individual who was shot and killed. Were they inspired to do this because of events in the Middle East, and was that the tipping point that led them to do this, or were there other factors there? It's still very early in the investigation, so we're going to have to wait and hear more details on that.
Yeah, and just a massive presence, very swiftly. Also, something else that we have seen out of this is the response to secure other churches and schools in the area. Is that normal or due to the heightened environment that we're in right now, likely due to the war with Iran?
Well, because of events in the Middle East and now an attack against a synagogue, I think that is being done out of an abundance of caution to make sure that if there's anybody else who even has an inkling of an idea of trying to do something similar, that it would be very difficult for them, because there will be a heightened security presence at other synagogues, temples, churches, mosques, now even schools. But this is sadly the environment that can happen either here in the U.S. or other places overseas when a war breaks out and it's unpopular and people are angry about things happening. Then it can also mobilize individuals who think that trying to attack other people is a way of demonstrating their anger or showing how committed they are to their cause. So I think this is all being done out of prudence, and hopefully there won't be anything else. But in a moment like this, it's the right step to take.
Yeah, just of course, and our hearts go out to just everyone in that area, and we are hoping to not hear of anyone hurt in this. We do want to talk about the warning and the memo that was sent to local police in California. You don't believe that that is credible, and my question there would be, is it normal for the FBI to do this even with unverified information, as the FBI is now saying that memo was?
Right. Yeah, it's interesting development for the FBI, and I worked for the FBI the bulk of my federal career, to issue that statement or the alert, and because the information in it seems to be a little suspect, sort of the veracity of the threat. We're not sure who the source of that information was. Was it a human being, or was it some other means of communication that picked up on this? But I also understand the dilemma that in now with a conflict raging overseas, to not share that, even out of abundance of caution, the FBI would have been criticized for withholding information. And having been in this world, my government career, it's usually you're going to get criticized on one way or the other. Either you withhold information and you don't share, or you share it and it turns out to be a not credible threat, and then you fall into the boy who cried wolf syndrome. And so it's hard to make everybody happy in moments like this. But I do understand the philosophy of sharing it and trying to put as many caveats around it as well, just so you don't have state and local law enforcement or even the general public overreacting to it. And getting back to the plausibility of that, it seems very unlikely that, especially now, that Iran would have the capability to take drones that they're trying to use in the fight in the Middle East and somehow position them for attacks in California. Just operationally doesn't seem to make sense to me. But Iran has thought about attacking the United States. I don't dismiss that. They've thought about that for the last 15 years. But time and time again, every one of those plots they've tried here have been far less sophisticated than trying to launch drones. And every time they have pretty much had to reach into the criminal underworld that exists here in the United States, drug dealers, biker gangs, Russian mafia members. It all sounds pretty fantastic, but it's true because the court documents have relayed these details. And each time the Iranians have tried to advance one of these plots, they always get disrupted. So I'm more confident that we won't see an Iranian-directed threat here or back threat, but we are going to continue to see these ones, unfortunately, I think that are inspired or people who are angry and try to act out on them.
Yeah, you bring up this underworld, this criminal enterprise. You know, we live our day-to-day lives. We forget that that exists, and criminals have resources and money and ways to finance their operations as well. You know, this memo, this was regarding, as you mentioned, a physical attack. You're saying highly unlikely that that would happen, but you teach courses on cybersecurity. You know, what other entities could be at risk right now, Professor, in this conflict, from the digital realm to even infrastructure and resources potentially?
Yeah, so this is another aspect of the threat from Iran. So even though they have tried and thought about physical terrorist attacks here inside the United States for the last 15 years, separate from the most recent memo, that what Iran actually has been able to achieve over that same similar 15-year stretch is a fairly persistent pattern of cyber attacks here in the U.S. Now, these attacks generally or almost never cause physical effects or lead to the destruction of buildings or people aren't being killed the way you would think in the world of terrorism, but they have been able to impair banking websites. They clearly have tried to influence our last few cycles of political elections with misinformation and disinformation. Going back to February 2014, there was an attack against the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas where Iranian-backed cyber hackers managed to basically destroy the information technology network or system of that hotel and crash the computers. And then even as of yesterday, also here in Michigan, a company called the Stryker Corp was hit by a cyber attack from a group claiming to be backed by Iran, or at least linked to Iran, the Handala Group. And they claim to have likewise shut down that company's information technology system, wiped the data off of thousands or tens of thousands of devices. And the hackers claim to have stolen 50 terabytes of data, are threatening to sell it or release it publicly. So even though Iran has not been successful on the terrorism side, the contrast is they unfortunately have been successful on the cyber side, to include even as of yesterday.
We know there's going to be a lot of extra security in Southern California. We're going to continue monitoring what's happening in Michigan. Professor Javed Ali, thank you so much for joining us with your insight. We know everyone should just be aware and on alert for anything that seems not right now. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Take care. And we do want to get back to a press conference update about that synagogue shooting outside of Detroit right now. Let's listen in.
I wasn't sure if I missed it or...
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chief, do you believe that the communication you had with the
around 12:30, I don't have
prevented this from being worse than it could have been?
I think it certainly helps anytime that we're able to stay in contact and free flow of information back and forth. These are so hard to predict that anything like this would even happen. Dale, V-A-L-E, last of Young, Y-O-U-N-G.
And forgive me for the redundancy, but in a chronological sense, I heard obviously from the sheriff that drove a vehicle in, and what happened as far as a step-by-step as best you can share?
Well, at this point, we're not sharing those types of details. We're going to protect the integrity of the investigation.
Chief, do you know about how many people were in the building? Like, I know it was like dozens and dozens, 100, 200. Right. I know a lot were kids.
So all of those details, again, we're holding right now as we're trying to piece everything together. But again, within 2 hours, we will be back and we'll be able to discuss more things.
I appreciate
it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
V-A-L-E.
All right, we were hearing the latest from law enforcement officials there. We got the tail end of an update. There was not much that official could share, and you can see just a slew of law enforcement agents' vehicles on scene. It looks like some folks just waiting for any kind of information there out of Michigan. A suspected shooter dead in a reported active shooter incident at a synagogue in West Bloomfield. We are going to stay with this for the latest on any updates. We were going to take a quick break and we will be right back.